everyone. This is Mahima. Thanks for tuning in. I'm super excited to have with me today Senior Performance Consultant and Senior Trainer Eudeshi Naidu. She's currently working with Dale Carnegie UK as a global digital producer. I have actually attended training from her in 2021, and the impact she has created on my communication skills has been tremendous. And so we are eager to learn from her insights and hear her story. Welcome, Yudeshi, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Mahima. So lovely to be with you. We're in different countries, right? You're in India and I'm in the UK. So excited to connect with you.
Great, thank you. I'm so delighted to have you here. Please share a little bit about yourself and your career path.
Yeah, it's a big question, so I'll try to compress it. But I am with Dale Carnegie. I have a dual role, so as a consultant as well as a trainer, and they could mean different things. So every industry looks at it quite differently. But essentially, in my role as a performance consultant, what I normally do is I partner with clients to really understand some of the challenges that clients, that companies are facing in the world of learning and development. And so what we would do is just really understand those needs, and based on what solutions we have to offer, we'll then create what we call a very bespoke solution that will be rolled out either within a team or across the organization. And typically we would be talking to people like, there's titles out there like CHROs, Chief Human Risk, or Chief HR officers, or head of talent. We also sometimes connect with head of operations or CXOs, customer experience, so people that really want to engage talent, develop skills in the organization. So that's one piece of my role. And then the other role is that I deliver that sort of training that we have secured for the client. So in the field of leadership, communication, presentations, and in sales. So those are the sort of four elements of actually what makes up organizational effectiveness. So that's what we facilitate on. Yeah.
That's very interesting to know. And how did you start this journey of being a performance consultant? Did you always want to be one, or how did it start for you?
I think I have one of the most mixed up, maybe messed up career paths out there, because it was not a linear one. I started off, I studied IT back in the day, information technology. I then studied a BCom accounting science degree. And then I took off in the space of risk management, auditing, and governance. So played in that space across various industries, primarily telecommunications and banking, insurance, banking. And I came, so this was a complete transformational career, as you can tell. I mean, that was completely different. But what had happened was, when I was in my career, I knew that was not who I was. I kind of knew that intrinsically. But also I was somebody that didn't have any confidence. So I used to actually speak really sort of softly, not, be assertive. And I also had a stammer. And what was so powerful was when I did my Dale Carnegie program, I was about 28 years old. It was a long time ago. And I cured the stammer because it just brought out my confidence. And that's when I realized this is the work that I want to do. This is my aha. I've decided. And so I went into the space. I left. It was an exciting corporate career that I left, but I decided to move into the space, and that's how I got into Dale Carnegie training. Yeah.
Wow, that is so empowering to know. Like, wow, you have a stammer as well, and now you're a trainer, and such an amazing trainer as that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And can you recount some of the most exciting experiences you had while working, and what makes you excited and motivated to continue to do this work?
Oh, yeah. Well, firstly, I see myself as a servant leader, because this is the space that we're in, right? We're serving people's goals, and at the end of the day, to play a part in that. Ultimately, yes, it's the individual that does the hard work, that commits and, sees their transformation, but you having to be in that space, and to be that sort of support on the side, but not being the sage on the stage. That's our philosophy, the guide on the side. So it's that coaching ability. That's what used to really get me out of bed. And I would say to people, Sundays never felt like back to school or back to work on a Monday. It just felt like I can't wait to get going on my Monday, because I just get to meet different people every day. So you're meeting new people, you're helping people to transform. And more than that, within the global network that I represent, I used to travel quite a lot to, do my certifications. Eventually, I became a senior trainer. I would help other trainers also get onto their journey of becoming a trainer. So just all in all, being in a space where people want to grow and develop, and being a part of that just brings me intense joy. And that will always be the space that I will play in my career. So yes.
Nothing better when you love your job. There's no Mondays, right, after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wouldn't agree more.
And what does a typical work day look like for you?
Yeah, and I think due to my personality, I do not like boredom, so it has to be quite varied. So every day is different, So with a bit of a dual role, a big part of it is the consulting space. So there's some key sort of activities that we have to, sort of do in a day. Sometimes I'm connecting with clients, so there's meetings. It might be a combination of in-person or going on site, and then I'm doing some delivery. So I've just come out of delivering a webinar on engaging millennials and Gen Z. Interesting topic. I know that we're talking about them anyway. So yeah, just talking about engagement in that space. I could be on a 2-day training program, which takes me out of the office and connecting with people. We also do just sort of networking events. I just came out of one last week where we did a leadership lunch for some of our clients and our potential clients, and it's a variety of things that we do, and it changes, and that's what makes it all really exciting.
Sounds very interesting, right? You have so many different things that you do on a daily basis. Very interesting. And
yeah,
is there any specific educational qualification required to get into this field, or can someone like me with no connection to this line of work still think about getting into this field?
Well, you, of course, because I know you're a graduate of the program, so you're already in there, one step ahead, for sure. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one because, it's not one of those career paths where at school there's this, maybe it's not as popular as some of the mainstream roles out there, I would say. But there's so many different variations to this. So I would say, for myself, all I did was because I was involved in one organization, I trained under them. So that made sense for me to do that. But if somebody has a passion at a younger age, you could get a qualification in HR space. So any HR qualification, learning and development, even being a coach. So you could do that in terms of qualifications. So there's those types of things. I'm leaning more on the practical side. Maybe that's your follow-up question, but I'm thinking about, what young people can be doing to get exposure, right, to this, because you never know if it's you. It is very varied. There's so many different moving parts to the role in consulting. So there's a sales element to it. There's an L&D element to it. There's a coaching element to it. There's understanding trends in the industry and being able to talk the talk with clients. And so it's not just the space of learning and development, but it's also understanding your clients and being able to know what's happening in their worlds and in the industry. So it's really exciting in a sense where you can learn a lot. But I would say an entry point into a role would be to, these internships. So even you have these big 5 consulting firms, you could move into, if you've had maybe even a psychology background as well, or a HR background, you could probably start off from there.
So my follow-up question was actually, what are the essential skills? So are there any other skills, when someone is actually starting out in this field, thinking about getting into this field?
Yeah.
What are the essential skills?
Of course. I mean, one can read a lot of books, and as much as I absolutely think that's necessary, we need to constantly, upskill ourselves around the industry, but you never really know if it's what you want to do unless you kind of have some sort of an immersive experience. And what that might mean would be potentially having a coach, coach you, see what that's about. So you're in there having the experience of being coached, but you're also seeing, okay, what is this coach doing? What are they asking me questions about? What is the structure that they might be using? And so you're kind of just putting yourself in an immersive experience with a coach. If you have links, LinkedIn, I would say, is something that you should be using to network, because you can connect to thought leaders, to authors, and you'll be very surprised, because I'm quite a gutsy networker, so I'm always out there connecting with thought leaders, authors, and you'll be very surprised how helpful people are in their response and being willing to help, and just have conversations with people like what we're doing around what does this involve, could this be a passion, and maybe even there's opportunity for you to go and be like what we have in our programs. In every of our courses is sometimes we have what we call a graduate assistant or a GA, but you would have had to do the course first. So you come in and you assist the trainer, you help with some of the activities, connecting people, so you can have that sort of initial experience. And it might not be a paid role, but at least you're getting in the door with that, and observing. And if organizations, and if you've got an inroad or a connection, and they're able to say, come and spend some time with us, on a program, if it's allowed, if it's public, or come and spend some time with us, or shadow, or have walk with a consultant, spend some time with them. Those are the best ways in which you can decide if this is a space that I want to get into. Yeah.
Very, very interesting to know. So LinkedIn is a very powerful tool, and I'm actually finding it out firsthand. I'm approaching people, and everyone is so helpful. Like you said yes to this interview. Right? So yeah, people should
absolutely
more.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning that getting in, getting those feeds in. So are there any other kind of internships or entry-level roles that they should look out for to get into this domain? And how should they go about searching for these roles?
Yeah, and my curiosity would this be individuals that are, in tertiary? When I say tertiary, are they sort of studying at this point in time, or making a decision about what to study? So who would the audience be that we're primarily talking to here? Could it be
students,
both?
Like graduating, or someone like me as well, maybe they are
change of career.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to let you know that our industry is extremely, okay, I wouldn't say the word fragmented, yes, in the sense that we have the size of players. We could have a one-man show, that has their own consultancy and they're a coach, to large organizations like the Big Five, and we're talking about the PwC, Deloitte's of the world, and training organizations like ourselves. So we're all competing in kind of similar ways. So each of them will come with its own different opportunity. I would say that if you really want to get in the door, when it comes to opportunities and internships and things, I think go to the bigger organizations, the consulting spaces, and get into those sort of entry-level roles, or graduate, get onto their graduate programs, because companies are really investing, certain organizations are really investing in graduate programs, and you'll get to learn a lot about the business. Also, you will decide whether HR business partnering versus HR learning and development. Do I want to be a trainer, or do I want to? So because there's so many different ambits, right, to a role, one needs to, and it's impossible, I would say, for someone to know exactly what they want to do when they've not really, kind of, wet their feet in a couple of roles or in a couple of options. And some organizations and some consulting firms are really good at creating those opportunities where you can move right from one business unit to the next. So that would be something I would recommend. I know it's not really easy for everybody to get into these graduate programs, but then the next best thing would be to leverage LinkedIn to connect with people, to reach out. If somebody's title and their experience sounds really exciting and aspirational, just check in with them and see how they might help you. They may give you like a list of things that you could do, you could research, and some practical things. Again, I still believe in the power of, which is completely outside the space, is you can learn skills that are easily transferable. So you could become a waiter, a waitress, and you could learn phenomenal customer service skills that will stand out really strong in your CV, right? And those are skills that can be transferable. You could go selling something. You could create your own little business. You could do something like this, like what you're doing, Mahima, and you could have a channel and talk about coaching, and maybe you're mentoring younger people in school to do better, get better grades. I mean, there's so many things that you could be doing to almost elevate your brand, but showcase that you are invested in the practicality, so that experience and the skills can transfer. So those are some ideas that I would recommend.
And those are great ideas, like amazing to know. And I was also thinking that, in your role, public speaking is actually very important. And a lot of people don't have that skill. They have a fear of public speaking, or you have to have great communication skills as well. So how do you develop those?
Simple but not easy. And the simplicity in that for me is just 3 words: practice, practice, practice. So whether you're practicing online, I would recommend more in person. So I know young people are on their phones and they're like, the connection piece is more comfortable. I would rather send you something on Instagram or TikTok or WhatsApp, and I would not want to pick up the phone or meet you and have an in-person conversation. So I would really recommend young people to get out there, and there are various very inexpensive ways of building public speaking experience and skill, like Toastmasters. You can go out to Toastmasters in your local community. There's Toastmasters, I think, in every major city around the world, and in little towns probably. You can go and just practice your public speaking. If you are part of communities in your community or in your school or even in university, where there's so many opportunities for you to take up leadership positions, right? Do it. Just take up those positions so you can start to practice leadership and practice talking. Just take up these free opportunities. Young people want to be inspired by young people. I mean, nobody wants to be hearing, I'm getting older and I might not be relatable, but young people want to hear from energy. They want passion, they want relatability. So develop your leadership skills and go out there and find speaking opportunities, because they are all around you, and do it more in person, because the in-person skills, I really believe, build your confidence in a more stronger light. Because when you come on video, then it's kind of just transfers, but it's where the nerves really are tested, right? It's when you're in front of people, you see their body language. There might be important people, there may be people that you respect, and you're just, you're dealing with that, and that can be really powerful for you.
Yeah, sounds really great. So there are a lot of free opportunities to, enhance your public speaking skills. I did not know about it. So yes, thank you for sharing that. And
yeah, you're welcome.
When it comes to earning, what can one expect when starting out on this journey, and what can one expect to make after gaining some experience?
That's a very interesting one, and I wish I could give you a black and white answer. It is a little, so I'll talk about structures, because it can be quite complicated. So and remember I spoke about there's various roles. So in a consulting role, and it also depends on the organization, usually in these types of roles where you are consulting and technically, in simple words, you're selling. So every time you sell a deal, because you had you played such a critical part in that sale, you would get a commission. So there's a base and there's a commission, and every company has a different sort of balance. Some of them would do a 10%. It might be a scaled, there may be a bonus in there if you exceed your targets. So if it comes to salary and what's kind of more lucrative in the space, I would say, if people are interested in the money, because some people are, it is the sales, those types of consulting roles, and you'll hear about management consultants and partners in big firms. It's very lucrative because of the fact that there's that commission piece, and then it's the sky's your limit type of thing. So it's a base and it's that. And of course, when you're starting off, you can't expect to be earning that. So you probably have a lower base, and you just need to focus on developing the skill. So there's a lot of room for growth. And in fact, they say that sometimes these people earn way better than even your, sadly, really hardworking doctors and people, that work developing their technical competence, because salespeople it's about there's no ceiling. You can earn, you could have a portfolio of $3 million. You could have a multi-million-dollar portfolio, and your earnings can just get bigger. So it is really lucrative in that space. In the learning and development, in the training space, again, it's a little complicated structure. So you can either be on a retainer if you're part of an organization that says you're the dedicated trainer or coach, then they'll put you on a retainer, or they'll have a monthly salary, but you got to do this many hours. Or it can be hour-based. So it can, and the market, as I said, because it's so fragmented, you have one-man shows, you've got big consulting firms, the rates are so varied. So in the UK market, for example, as a coach could earn anything from £100 an hour to maybe £350 an hour, and there's probably room across that even more, because you can get into executive coaching, you can get into leadership coaching, health coaching. There's very niche, coaching spaces within coaching. So yeah, it can be hourly, or it can be sometimes when you're delivering. So if you're delivering training and not coaching, then you could do a half a day and you could do a full day rate. So those pieces are different. You could get £1,000 a day or £2,000. It depends. And then some people that have their own businesses, because it's really lucrative, they have a couple of projects like that every month, and they just deliver those sort of training pieces. But if you work for a company, it might be that, based on the demand of the brand and how credible and in terms of the size of the market that they work with, it might be a salary. But just giving you a difference here, because I just wanted to illustrate, in terms of learning and development, there might be kind of tipping points if you're in a corporate space. But if you're in a consulting space and you are consulting to clients in your own capacity, then there's room there also in terms of earning. But I know we're talking to an audience that's starting off. So my recommendation would be, if this is your space, like for me, when I was leaving, it was a challenge, because I went from one extreme, space into something. I was doing audits for clients, and I was doing compliance sort of management and fraud and risk and all sorts of things. And I went into sales, and I was like, I could not sell anything, like, in my first couple of months, and it was scary, something that I couldn't do. And I thought, is this the right thing? So when you make these changes and decisions, I would advise people to go more into the dabble stage first, in a bigger size company where you're getting the salary, explore, and have some coaching on the side. Maybe become a coach, get a coaching certification, like an ICF, which is the International Coach Federation. They're one of the more highly regarded. Any coach program from them. And then you could coach on the side. You could have your own portfolio of clients if you like. And then that qualification can also be credible if you want to be a dedicated coach or something. So yeah, these are very different options. I know I've complicated it, but it's just so diverse, and it's not like what we were used to when we were younger. These are scales. It is quite expansive.
No, these are some great insights actually, and it will surely help people who are actually looking into getting into this kind of field. So,
yeah.
And lastly, drawing from your experience and success, could you share the qualities or skills that you believe have contributed to your achievements? And do you have any other valuable tips or advice for those who are trying to become a performance consultant?
Yeah, though I will start off by saying it's still a developing space for me in terms of developing my leadership. But I would say that the skills that I had was, I had an innate knowing that this is where I wanted to be. So I was really passionate. I just put myself and I took risks. And the thing is, when becoming a Dale Carnegie trainer is a very rigorous process. So you are pushed out of your comfort zone. You are tested. You can have moments where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, because it's that much of a stretch. And it's because we are sort of rated against some really key dynamics that makes us stand out in the industry as trainers. So we're what we call ISO certified, and it's one of the highest standards, and we have to get even retrained as a trainer every sort of 2 years, plus we've got to do continual professional development. So it's really rigorous, but I would say the quality that stands out is getting out of your comfort zone and being okay with it, and just exploring what that is, even if it's not comfortable. I would also say it's you've got to have a real intense curiosity for people, and for reading I will say I listen to people reading storybooks on the train and lots of these fantasy books, and I'm like, I cannot have time to read any of that stuff, because we're in a space where it's changing, right? Leadership and industries and AI, and we have to be on the cutting edge, and we got to know what's happening. So you got to be reading stuff, reading articles, listening to webcasts and podcasts, and there's so much of stuff that you can consume. So you've got to be curious, have a continuous learner mindset, I would say, is key. And what you spoke about, which is your public speaking skills, that is just a given. So you need to have confidence. You need to show, and our perceived level of confidence, I know when I was younger, was so different to when you're much older, which is really being okay with who you are. It's that self-assurance. And you do develop that. That takes a bit of maturity and time. And the more you connect with people and the more you're doing this type of work, that will play out. But yeah, there's so many in a range. There's a range of skills, leadership, I could call that self-awareness. Being open to coaching, I think, would be another one. So being open to feedback from people and taking that on board, and not necessarily agreeing to all of it, but being open to receive it and knowing which are the things that you want to work with. So if I could summarize all of them, I would say open to coaching, confident, stretching out of your comfort zone for sure, and being a continuous learner, being really curious. So that would be my key ones.
Thanks for sharing that. And actually, I've learned something new as well over here. So I like to read, I love to read, but I go to fiction. Really, I read articles.
Which is lovely.
Yeah. But now I'll try.
And you do need the balance.
Yeah, and I'll balance it out.
Of course.
Once again, thank you so much for sharing your story and invaluable insights with us. Your talent and expertise will surely inspire and motivate many of the young aspiring professionals to think beyond the norm and reach for the stars. Thank you.
Thanks, Mahim. And I'd like to say to everyone out there, because we were talking about LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. I know we had this conversation. There may be something that you thought, I want to learn a little bit more or understand more, you can find me on LinkedIn, message me. I'd be so lovely to connect if you'd like, and happy to support where I can, because mentorship is my other passion. I do love giving back to young people. That is where this all started. So yeah.
Thank you so much for offering that. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Mahima. It's so nice to see you. Good luck, and thank you for all of the work that you do to help young people to really uncover all the possibilities and options out there. I think it's an exciting space for people to be in right now with where AI is. AI is not going to take away your job if you can be really clever and smart about it. It's an edge. It's really the edge that you can have to be more efficient, but you can really stand out. There's so much of exciting opportunity out there. So just go and explore.
Yeah, I have had this question so many times. Will AI take away our jobs? It won't. You have to learn AI, and it'll help you actually get better in your job. So
for sure. Yeah.